Using the online tool I found really easy. I protected time to do this. I actually did it at home, so I was away from any other distractions, made sure it was quiet, focused the time. Took me around 20 minutes to enter all of the information, so once I had that in front of me, I was able to log in really easily, which was really helpful, and to follow through the 5 areas. Made sure that I saved each section as I went along, just in case it didn't actually kind of retain the information. I'd definitely say don't panic and protect time without any distractions and just get it done, ideally.
My experience of using the online version of the tool, again, was very positive. It was very easy to do. I'd collated all my information in advance, so I had all my responses ready. So it was a very simple way just to go through the tool online.
The online stage was interesting. To begin with, you do feel a bit overwhelmed by the number of questions that it asks. But overall, I think people found it was a positive experience. Again, as long as people don't worry about filling in the survey and get the wrong answer, I think it was a positive experience for people.
My experience of using the online tool was really easy to use, quick, simple, efficient. No problems logging on, no problems technically.
It's quite overwhelming. I kind of felt quite overwhelmed to see all of these kind of results and colours, and had to look at the key to see like what they meant again. But yeah, it was good to get an overview of each section, and actually it really highlighted some of the areas to kind of start working on.
When I received my report for the first time, I was quite overwhelmed by the sea of red that was on there. I hadn't anticipated quite as much red. I knew it wouldn't be an overwhelmingly positive report in the first outset, but actually there was a lot of red and there's a lot of information. So I did feel quite overwhelmed with the amount of information, thinking, where do I start?
My first impression was that it was a bit more positive than I thought it would be. But having said that, I have to take some comfort from the fact that we're not red across all of the areas, which is good because it means that some of these concepts they mean something to some people that filled it in. So there's some common language in there, so that's something we can build from.
When I got the report, I liked the fact you got it immediately. It was slightly overwhelming. I had 2 reports because I was doing it for 2 organisations. I liked the overall diagram that you saw initially, so they gave you an overview of what things were like. There's a lot of narrative, there's a lot of detail in the report, which in itself is quite good, but takes a lot of sort of reading through, I guess.
My first steps were to make contact with a colleague, with my buddy that I'd made in Cornwall, just to share the experience and just to get a sense of what they were going to do next.
For us, it's about triangulating some of that information. So currently staff survey is out, we've done our own local survey, the results are due out in a couple of weeks. I'd quite like to triangulate all of that information and develop an action plan in line with our people strategy overall, so that we can ensure that talent management is really embedded rather than going off and doing something that sort of stands alone.
So the advice I'd give somebody that when they first receive their report is kind of don't worry, don't feel too overwhelmed. It's just an information tool to kind of, I think, break it down into the sections as well, because I think that's kind of really useful to say, okay, well, what areas are we doing well in, which areas do we need to work on a bit more, and then actually just take it kind of a section at a time.
My advice that I'd give to somebody who's receiving the report for the first time is don't panic. It's okay to have red. Everyone's starting from a fairly similar place in that most organisations haven't focused on talent much. So don't be overwhelmed by the state of red, and call a friend.
To try not to read it all in one go when they get the report, to read it section by section, but read it, share it with your colleagues, ask them if it meets if it represents their views.
It would be don't be overwhelmed. Maybe don't read it straight away. take some time out, then go back to it. Look at the diagram, notice, don't be too distracted by the colours, look at the scores more so, and the individual sort of detail that you get at the beginning in terms of the responses that you have given, and chat it through with somebody.